In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Google Spreadsheet feature to adjust your amounts, your deposits, and your interest rate very quickly and easily. So if you can see here, I've built a spreadsheet, and this is if I have an initial deposit of $20,000, and we're assuming that $20,000 is then going to be deposited every 2 years. So this is an every 2-year deposit of $20,000 at an interest rate of 2%. Now I've frozen everything up to column F so that we can scroll over and see my totals here. If you can see, then I have total, I'm totaling across how much money I would have at the very starting amount, at the start of my investment, after 1 year, 2, and so forth. So if we go down here, you can see this is how much I would have after 18 years. If I'm saving $20,000 every 2 years at 2%, this is how much I would have after 20 years. So what's cool about this is we can change these numbers and the entire spreadsheet will change. So if I change this to 10,000, hit enter, you can see that all of my numbers have adjusted. If I change my interest rate to 3%, so let's put in 0.03, enter, you can see again all of the numbers have changed. So this is a really nice way to develop a spreadsheet that can get you your savings plans and the amounts very quickly, and this would be data you would want to include in your project. So let me show you how to do this. We're going to start with a new clean sheet. Let's put our initial amount and just put a number there. We can just put 5,000. Remember, you get to change this number. And then let's do an interest rate. Okay, and let's put 0.03%. Again, we can change this. Let's put our years here. And remember, we want to start with year 0. This will be our initial amount, and this is going to equal. So you're going to hit the equal sign. You're not going to type in $5,000. You're going to click on that cell and hit enter. Because now when you change this initial amount up here, let's say we're going to put in 10,000, this automatically changes. Okay? So this is how we want to build our spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet recognizes patterns. So if you start at year 0 and you want to increase by 1 each time, we're going to just type in a few numbers, and then we're going to highlight enough so that the sheet sees our pattern. And let's go down to about 22. We can go to about 25. It depends on how long your clients want to save money for their child's college, so keep that into consideration. Now remember, our simple interest formula is always going to add 3% to the previous year. So this next cell will equal, and remember, we want to build a formula. It's our previous amount, our initial amount, the $10,000 times, you have to hit Shift 8 and use the asterisk. We need 100% of what we started with plus our interest rate. We're going to click on 0.03 and grab that interest rate right there and hit enter. And you can see that we get the amount. If we change this to, let's say, 20,000, both of those numbers change to reflect the 20,000 instead of the 10,000. If we change this to 15% interest rate, which is very high, you can see how this changed to reflect that. So we're going to go ahead and drag this down and see if that formula holds. Now, if you look at this, this is B5, it's our previous amount, times 1 plus B3, but we want that interest rate to always be B2. So we need to change this to B2. And you can see when I highlight the formula, it tells you what it's using for B3. It's using nothing. So we need to change that to B2. Once in a while, the spreadsheet assumes incorrectly what you want. Same thing here. We want B6, the previous amount, multiplied by 1 plus, and this we always want to be B2. We always want to keep that our interest rate. So it looks like what our formula is doing is not keeping that number correct. So what you need to do is you need to go down, and you're going to have to kind of adjust this, but it's worth it because when you finish, what's going to happen is you're going to have this nice spreadsheet that is going to work for anything. And we can just click through and change all of these to B2s. And now this number looks right. And you can always check this with your calculator. You can use that formula that we learned about and make sure that what is going on is matching. So let me go ahead and go through and fix all these. Okay, now I've got them all changed. So if I go through and look at my formulas, I have B2s for the purple. It's using that percentage that I have defined in cell B2 for all of those. So if I change this to something a little more reasonable, let's say like 5%, all of my numbers now have changed. And this is what I would get if I saved a lump sum. So now we have a lump sum calculator. If I save the lump sum of $20,000 at the end of 25 years, I would have about $67,000. So if that is what you want one of your plans to be, you can of course do this and you can get your lump sum. You can also calculate this by hand and get this final answer very quickly, but what's nice about the spreadsheet is you can see how much you have every year. And then we can go back and we can change this. Let's say we're going to save $50,000 right from the get-go, and we think we can get 5% for it. It's going to adjust automatically for you. And if you can save $50,000 at the very beginning, after 25 years, you'd have $169,000. After 20 years, about $132,000. Now, let's say you're going to save an amount. And let's say we're going to save every 5 years. Every 5 years, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So what we can do here is we can say, all right, I want this cell to mimic what I have right over here in B4. All right, so we're going to say again equals B4 because we're going to do the same investment, but now we're doing it 5 years later. So if you notice, it's going to take what I had at year 0 here and copy it here. So if I want to replicate the same process, but I want to do it 5 years later, now if I drag this down, it is giving me B5, B6, B7, and so forth. Now, here's the thing I don't like about these numbers. Right now, these numbers are decimals, but they are not rounding to hundreds, which makes the most sense for money. So let's go to format, our number, and let's make our numbers be to 2 decimals. I think this has got us all set for 2 decimals. Yeah, it does. Okay, so that's a little bit nicer. It makes a little more sense for money. And if you see here, this is going to take the column B and just shift it down 5 years. And I'm going to drag that all the way down to the end of my 25 years. And hopefully this is what I've got at year 20. And we can look and we can match it. All right, that looks good. So 5 years later would be 10 years. I want this to equal what I have right here. We can use either one. We could use the B4 cell and hit enter, and we're going to take that and we're going to drag it down to the end. And I'm going to do this. So this is if I were saving money every 5 years. My next one would be 15. And we're going to go, we can just grab this one, enter, and we're going to drag this one down. And if we do 20 years later equals this one, enter, drag it down, and after 25 years, we're kind of done. Now, what you need to do is add these columns sideways to get totals. So if we drag this sideways, you can see there's this little summation key right there. What this does, it gets a sum for you. So if you want to add up all of those columns and hit enter, it's going to give you the sum. So we can do that, and again, we can drag this down. It should be adding these up for you. So you kind of want to see, is it adding? It's adding B12 through G12. So if we drag that down, we should be in good shape. And we've got the sum, and so we can see at the end of 25 years, we would have $551,000 if we invested $50,000 at 5%. If we change this percent to 0.03, it's going to decrease our 0.003, sorry. Let's make sure that's 3%, not 30%. It's going to change that to $398. Let's say we don't quite think we could save $50,000 every 5 years. Let's say we think maybe $20,000 is a little more realistic. We can change that, and we've automatically got our totals there. Okay? So this is a good thing to kind of play around with, but remember every time you put something in, you need to hit enter to refresh your formula, and you can always check to see what your formulas are doing up here. But now I can change one number and I can see very quickly how all of this changes over time. So I'm also going to put a little label here. This is going to be the total after so many years. So this adds up all of our columns sideways. I hope this video helps. This is going to be a very nice, efficient way for you to develop all 6 of your plans if you want to use this. Also, if you do use the spreadsheet, please incorporate these tables into your project because this will definitely get you a higher level on your grade. I hope this helped. Please come in and ask questions if you have any additional questions.